Football ultras, a word that most people should know the meaning of. If you don't know what the meaning of it is, football ultras is a term that is used mainly across Europe and other footballing regions in a term for the fans that show up every day and are always there to support the team. And I'm here to discuss why the English FA doesn't like them. So, football ultra culture revolves around the love for your club, the love for your area specifically. You see clubs such as Red Star Belgrade with some of the biggest fans in the world, clubs in Germany with the massive flags, pyros, banners, etc., tifos galore. And it all just stems from a group that just love their club to death and they will fight tooth and nail to defend it. And it's something that they want to do. It's something that is fantastical to watch if you are a younger football fan or just a football fan in general. Most ultra culture is amazing. There is a dark side, of course, which I will discuss later. The main side of ultra culture, though, is about praising your club, showing your club why you have the best support. It doesn't mean your club is the best. What it means is having the best support, always being there for your club. And I may just discuss again why ultra culture doesn't exist much in England. It's a mix, in my opinion, of two things. In England, the culture around football is a game that you're meant to enjoy watching, not because you always want to support the club. I mean, you don't always love your club at 100%, depending on your area. But since in most other countries where football exists, it's life or death for them because that's how passionate they are. And it's also a mix between the fact of tourism in England as well, because of the Premier League quality being so high. Obviously, there's so many tourists from other different countries, which is perfectly fine. It soils the bit of the true fans that are there day in, day out, weekend after weekend, being there, supporting their club, wearing the badge and wearing the colours proudly. But then you have tourists coming in just because they heard that this club was the best or they've been succeeding so much. It's also a main reason plastic fans is a massive, massive issue in football, which unfortunately won't go away. It's a fact, unfortunately. No matter what you do, they will never have fans. That every club will always have the hollow fans, unless there's some way of just making it so it's impossible to get tickets without being a fan in some way, shape or form, without some form of verification, which again is impossible. You will always have hollow fans in a club in any way, shape or form. And then the second reason why football ultra culture doesn't exist much is due to what the FA has banned. The FA has banned, if you go to any form of stadium in England, there will usually be obviously the prohibited items which you can't bring into the ground usually. These stem from simple things such as flasks or like bottles that you've brought in, or like food, something like that, something that's reasonable. And then there's always one thing: no flagpoles. This is usually due to, quote, fire safety, and the fact that you aren't allowed to hold a flag if you don't have a license for it. It's got to have a certain license for the flag, and I believe this is one of the reasons that they don't allow ultra culture. Some clubs do to an extent. You've got to, obviously, the group's got to be verified with them. It's got to be like a supporters group or a supporters association that works quite closely with the club for that. Usually sets up. These are usually the associations that set up like away buses for fans and also for that set up like new family stands usually in England. That's also a reason why there's not much football ultra culture, is because football's a family sport. It's a sport that you come with your family as well. And of course, if you've seen some of the things that ultras do, it's mad. If you look at the image that's on the screen provided lovely by Google, then you will understand like why sometimes families don't want this in football. But again, it is mainly due to the fact that the FA has banned so much. It is a mixture of a few different things throughout history of football, specifically in England. Of course, number one being the Hillsborough disaster. None of you outside of England know this. Liverpool fans will know this, unfortunately, very well. It's a very, very tragic event during a game between Liverpool Football Club and Nottingham Forest FC, where they played at a neutral ground. They played at, which was sort of an in between. It wasn't particularly in between, but it was close enough in between as we could reasonably get. It was played at Sheffield Wednesday's ground, Hillsborough. Now, at the time, having terraces was perfectly permitted in England, and it was often with many stadiums that they were having standing areas. It was normal at the time, just because again seats were very expensive, and it was just easier for the people who built the grounds. But then, of course, the police at Hillsborough let too many fans in, and I believe 96 was confirmed on the day, but it was 97 in total were confirmed dead by being trampled upon, crushed, etc. And that is kind of what made the FA go, we need to stop this immediately. And so, of course, after the Hillsborough disaster, they permitted all football clubs, all grounds in England to have seating, except in certain circumstances where it's like a singular stand in one specific area, or if the ground has been new though, all seaters, all form of seating and occupancy must be seated. That was one of the main tragedies that kind of started the ball rolling on the stopping football ultra culture existing. The next one is a little bit more obvious on the surface, and it's football hooliganism. Now, football hooliganism is what the FA describe as ultra culture. That is what it is officially known as. But this was, in England especially, is the fighting between fans, usually drunk, sort of youngish men who go out and go to football games, away games specifically, just to fight. That is where it was all known from. And yes, I'm not saying some ultra groups are not aggressive like that. Some are. It is very, very obvious that some ultra groups are the most aggressive people in the world. But this is the main reason why football ultra culture doesn't exist in England. Due to several incidents of people fighting, there being constant attacks on civilians that just aren't interested in football. That is the main reason a lot of ultra culture has been stopped in its tracks. Obviously, you've heard tales from other different parts of the world where football ultras clash with a very close rival in very heated derbies, or for whatever reason they just start fighting. It happens. But in England, obviously, we had the most famous, I wouldn't say famous ultra group, but the most known ultras at the time who were known for fighting, of course, being Millwall. Millwall, of course, actually still carry this reputation regardless of who they are. It continues, but unfortunately, that is another reason the FA has stopped it. Now, again, I'm not saying there is no form of ultra culture in England. There is still some, of course. The main one that everybody immediately thinks of is Crystal Palace fans, also known as Homesdale fanatics, I believe. Unfortunately, again, just due to the fact of what the FA has forced upon clubs and stadiums, in the fact that they can't bring in stuff like flares, pyros, tifos, unless they are permitted by the club, and flags as well, that also prevents them. But it's also due to the fact of the stigmatism around ultra culture being mainly violent brutes who just want to fight, where it's a lot more than that. It's a lot more care about your club. Again, it's not the only ultra groups, though. Palace aren't. Of course, we have Ipswich Town's up and coming. It's either A Block or the Blue Action, I believe is what it's called. I can't remember off the top of my head. And Huddersfield Town also do have one, which I can't remember the name of off the top of my head. Bradford City also have one as well, being Collective Bradford, which is a mix, which is their turn on the PSG version, which is Collective Paris. But until the FA say, we'll let you bring flares and pyros and flags in, ultra culture in England won't thrive, just because of the stigmatism around the violence that the FA won't stop. Because again, there's been countless tales of these hooligans that they call, and who have ruined football, and unfortunately the FA won't stop. It is a shame, and I really hope for ultra culture to grow in England, because it would be a wonderful thing to watch. Other than that, I'm finished here. Be good, do some good out there, and stay awesome. Cheerio.